Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the free legal advice show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, the free legal advice show provides you, our viewers, the opportunity to call in and ask us any questions that you have on any aspect of English law. On the show, I should be able to cover a vast, diverse range of legal matters. Matters ranging from immigration law matters, family law matters, criminal law matters. So whatever your questions are, whatever your legal questions are, please feel free to contact us either on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen, or alternatively by sending us a WhatsApp message on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. A couple of minor points before we get going. Obviously, it's a live show and it's not always possible to take very detailed information from viewers that call in. If it transpires that your matter is quite complex and I need to have an in-depth discussion with you, then I'll ask you to leave your number with the control room and we can have that more in-depth discussion off air. Secondly, sometimes I need to look at documents before I advise you in detail. It may be that you've received a letter from a solicitor. It might be you've received a refusal letter from the Home Office. And it helps if I look at the document and then have a thorough discussion with you. Now, if that's the case, if I need to have a more detailed discussion or I need to look at your documents, then again, I'll ask you to leave your number with the control room and we can have that thorough discussion after I've spoken to you and I've looked at your documents in detail. Free legal advice show, so any advice that we give off air is also covered and it's completely free of charge. So feel free to get in touch with us live on the show, either on the landline number or on the mobile number by sending us a WhatsApp message. Just before we've started, we've had a number of WhatsApp messages coming through already. Fantastic. Please continue to send your questions in and I will try and address them live on air. But I do answer your question. If you're not sure or if there's some additional points which arise, do feel free to follow up and send us a follow-up question and I'll be more than happy to address that live on air. So fantastic, easy way. If you don't want to speak live on air because it's confidential, or you don't want to come live on air, continue to send us your messages via that mobile number that appears at the bottom of the screen. As I said, we've already had a number of questions coming in. Let's look at some of the questions that have come in. One of the first questions we've had today relates to divorce. So I've not managed to look at this question in detail. It's just come in as we've come on live, which is absolutely fine. Let's look at the question and then let's look at what issues arise and what the most practical legal advice is that I can give in the circumstances. Okay, so our viewer who sent the message in says, I wanted to have advice about a talaq that's been given to me by my husband. The talaq papers were made in Pakistan. I would like to know my legal status or the legal status of my marriage in the UK. In terms of background, our viewer says, I was married in Pakistan, Islamic nikah. A husband has divorced me in the UK by giving me Pakistani talaq papers. What's the status of this talaq? I have not been given a civil divorce. So, both parties living in the United Kingdom. And what's happened is that the wife, obviously in the United Kingdom with the husband, has been given a talaq and the papers have been drawn up on stamp paper in Pakistan. And the viewer has also given us slightly more detail by saying that me and my husband are both British nationals in the United Kingdom. We qualified for indefinite leave to remain and then ultimately qualified for British nationality using the work permit route. So that's the background we have. Very detailed information there. Fantastic. That should be more than enough for me to give you quite thorough advice. So background in terms of the pertinent points here. Both parties living in the United Kingdom. Both parties are British nationals. The marriage which took place in Pakistan. And the divorce that's been given, that's been given by way of a talaq written on stamp paper in Pakistan. The civil divorce has not been given. So what's the position? Now, as far as the talaq is concerned, as far as Islamic position is concerned, it sounds like one would need to look at the talaq papers, etc. One would need to take advice from an Islamic scholar, but potentially it looks like, assuming the requirements are fulfilled, it does look like the Islamic divorce may have taken place. There are particular rules about what needs to be said in that document, but that's something that a scholar can advise on. In terms of the English law aspects of this divorce, is this divorce recognized in the United Kingdom? Well, the basic answer is no. What has happened here is that simply, if it can be classed as an Islamic divorce, that's what's taken place here. As far as the law is concerned in the United Kingdom, you remain married. And there are quite a number of significant implications of that. Implications in terms of whether you're allowed to, by law, divide your assets, whether the court will intervene or not to divide your assets following the divorce, the Islamic divorce. There's issues relating to if either party was to die, how the assets would transfer, because in the eyes of English law, you are still married. So the position remains that in the eyes of the English legal system here, you are still legally married. The Islamic divorce that's been given on the talaq paper does not bring the marriage to an end. So the starting point is this, that in terms of your marriage is recognized as a legal marriage. That marriage took place in Pakistan in accordance with Pakistan family law. That marriage is recognized in the United Kingdom. In terms of divorce, both parties are in the United Kingdom. So the divorce really should be based on using the family courts in the United Kingdom. In limited circumstances, if the divorce takes place abroad in Pakistan, it may be recognized. But again, one would normally have to follow the legal system which has been established in Pakistan for that divorce to be recognized. So in Pakistan, there is the proper divorce system for obtaining a divorce. It's done through courts. That may potentially be recognized here. There's still issues about whether the parties have sufficient connection now with Pakistan or not for that to be recognized. It looks like both parties are only British nationals, so there might still be an issue about even if you tried to give a divorce there. But ultimately the position is this, that the divorce that's been given by way of talaq on a stamp paper is not recognized as a civil divorce. Hope that answers your question. Let's take the next call for the day. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
वालेकुम सलाम अलियास भाई, क्या हाल ठीक हो?
जी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ठीक है, आप कैसे हो? ठीक है।
अलियास भाई, पाकिस्तान से आदमी मंगवाना हो स्टूडेंट वीजे पर, उसका क्या तरीक़ेकार है?
जी ठीक है।
या वर्क परमिट पर मंगवाना चाहिए तो उसका क्या तरीक़ेकार है? ये प्लीज एक्सप्लेन कर दें।
जी ठीक,
थोड़ा सा आता है। दूसरा, एक मेरा भाई है जी, उसने इधर इस कंट्री में शादी की है, ठीक है, उसके पास एक बच्चा भी है।
ऑलराइट, ओके जी ठीक।
तो उसने अभी केस नहीं डाला, बच्चा 3 ईयर का है
जी। उसने जो शादी की है ना, वो
तो
शादी
क्या उसका केस वो अभी डाल सकता है या नहीं डाल सकता?
जो शादी उसने की है वो ब्रिटिश लड़की से शादी की है।
बच्चा 3 ईयर का है।
हाँ, मगर उसकी जो शादी हुई है वो ब्रिटिश लड़की के साथ शादी हुई है।
ब्रिटिश लड़की की है, ब्रिटिश लड़की
के साथ, और बच्चा यहाँ हुआ है और 3 इयर्स ओल्ड है।
वो भी ब्रिटिश हो गया ना
जी, वो भी ब्रिटिश हो गया। ये जज़ाकल्लाह, थैंक यू आपका कॉल के लिए। वो इंशाल्लाह मैं उसका भी अभी जवाब देता हूँ। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू। So call is asking really 2-3 connected questions. First of all, in terms of what the system is for obtaining a student visa to come to the United Kingdom, what the procedure is for obtaining a work permit to come to the United Kingdom. Now, to be quite honest, these are very topical questions, something that arises regularly in practice in terms of coming to the United Kingdom to study or to work. And obviously, I can't give a complete overview of these visa routes, but I can give you some practical advice. turning firstly to the student visa, I always advise clients who request information in relation to this is best starting point is this. It's not with an immigration lawyer. The best starting point is to see whether the applicant who wants to come from abroad can obtain a place at a university here, either on a bachelor's degree course or on a master's degree course. The starting point is obtaining a place at a university here in the United Kingdom. Now, the reason I say that's the starting point is this, that if the prospective student cannot get admission at a university here, in most cases, then the visa to the United Kingdom as a student is not going to work. I mean, there may be short courses that they can go on, but generally speaking, you need to be able to obtain a place at a university here. So the university will assess your level of education, your level of English, etc. And if it's satisfied that you are a genuine student, your academic background is fine, you'll be able to follow this course, then you will be given a place at a university here. And they will confirm that they are willing to sponsor you. That's the starting point. You need your sponsorship from the university. Now, obviously, connected to that, the fees are typically about £10,000 to £14,000 a year. The second thing that you need to appreciate is that you will need to have enough money to cover your maintenance, your living expenses. So one is your course fees, the other is maintenance. That comes up to something in the region of about £12,000, either in your account or in your parents' account. So you need to obtain a place at a university here as a student, and you need money. And it's a lot of money that you need. Each year, the course fees are around £14,000, plus your living expenses are around £12,000. So just to begin with, you're going to need to have around £25,000, £26,000 to start this process off. So that's how you normally deal with a student visa. Hope that answers your question. Taking a short break. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please feel free to contact me on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. But as always, if you would prefer to send me a message, feel free to do that on the mobile number that also appears at the bottom of the screen. We've got a caller who's been waiting for a while. Let's go to our next caller. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Ji bhai, thank you for calling. Ji bhai, what's your question?
Hello.
Hello, hi. Yeah, you're live on air. What's your question?
Okay. Hello. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है बेसिकली मैं यूके में 28 ईयर से हूँ और मेरे 2 बच्चे हैं ब्रिटिश इधर.
ओके.
ठीक है. और मेरी वाइफ जो है वो पाकिस्तान में है.
ओके.
ठीक है. उसको बुलाने के लिए हमने उसका स्पाउस वीजा अप्लाई किया लेकिन वो इंग्लिश टेस्ट पास नहीं कर सके अभी तक.
ओके.
तो बेसिकली प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, वो इंग्लिश टेस्ट नहीं पास कर सकती तो हम उसको कैसे बुला सकते हैं? मेरे 2 बच्चे हैं, एक 17 ईयर का बच्चा है और 18 ईयर्स की बेटी है मेरी, वो दोनों ब्रिटिश है.
ऑलराइट, ओके. तो
अगर आप इस पे मुझे कोई एडवाइस दे सकते हैं.
वाइफ की एज क्या है? वाइफ की एज?
ठीक है सर.
जी, वाइफ की उम्र जो है वो क्या है?
वो होगी इस टाइम पे तकरीबन 39 या 40 होगी.
40 होगी. ऑलराइट, ओके.
ठीक है. मेरी उम्र 57 है.
जी ठीक है. ऑलराइट, नो प्रॉब्लम है. ओके, थैंक यू.
बच्चा एक 17 ईयर का और एक बच्ची जो है वो 18 ईयर की है.
वैसे थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्टी तो है. जी, थैंक यू है आपका कॉल के लिए. मैं आपको अभी डिटेल में जवाब देता हूँ. So thank you very much. Exactly. So the caller has asked a question which does come up quite regularly in practice as well. The question is this, that the caller's wife is abroad and she obviously wants to come to the United Kingdom to live with the husband, and there are also children here in the United Kingdom that she wishes to live with in the United Kingdom. The difficulty is this, that she isn't able to pass the English test that needs to be passed in order to come to the United Kingdom. Now, there is some difficulty here because with a spouse visa, when somebody wants to come from abroad to the United Kingdom to live with their partner here, there is a mandatory requirement that the applicant has to pass an English test. Now, the test is at quite a low level. They refer to it as an A1 life skills test. It's not particularly complex, but nonetheless, it is a test which needs to be passed, and people do struggle. Now, there are some exceptions to this, and this may not assist our viewer because this may not apply at all. First of all, one of the main exceptions is an age exception, where the applicant who's coming to the United Kingdom is 65 or over. They would then be exempt from the English language requirement. And when I asked the brother who was on the phone as to what the age of his wife was, and he thought she was in the region of about 40, 50 years old. So she wouldn't fall within the age exemption, and neither is she close to falling within the age exemption. I've had cases before where the applicant has been about 63, 64 years old, struggling to pass the English test, and I've simply said, you know what, leave things as they are. Let's just wait until the wife, husband, whoever's abroad turns 65, and then sponsor them to come to the United Kingdom. The English requirement will not apply. That doesn't help here. The other exemption to the English language requirement is that the applicant is unable, due to medical reasons, pass the English test. Now, based on the limited information that I obtained from the viewer, we don't know what the position is as far as the medical condition is concerned. Let me give an example. If somebody has a mental illness, for example, which means that they have difficulty in learning a new language, and this can be verified by a medical doctor, then it may be possible to fall within the exemption. So those are the two real exemptions, age and medical reasons. There are no other exemptions. I accept that there are children here, a child who's 17, a child who's 18. The problem is, even based on the child, she would be unable to obtain a visa. Now, having said all that, there was a good opportunity, to be quite honest, to sponsor your wife to come to the United Kingdom last year, when the Home Office specifically said that if you are unable to fulfill the English language requirement because the test centres are closed, or because you are not permitted to leave the city, leave the area where you live, then you will be exempt from the English language requirement. So I had a couple of cases last year when there was a real lockdown where people abroad were not allowed to leave the city in which they reside. They were unable to travel to the test centre. On many occasions, the test centres were closed as well. So we were able to rely on the exemption, which says if you are unable to pass your English test because you simply can't get to the test centre, or your test centre is closed, then you will be exempt from the English language requirement. That is something which worked last year at the height of the pandemic. Doesn't really apply anymore. As I understand it, I think your wife is in Pakistan. The test centres are open, and it is possible to move around from city to city in a similar way to what the position was before we had COVID-19 with us. So that doesn't help. Literally, we're stuck. All we're left with a medical exemption. Really, now, if it's the case that there are medical problems, what I would suggest is you look at that avenue. If it's been a while and your wife simply has been unable to pass the test, it may well be that there may well be some kind of illness that you are able to get diagnosed, which may assist with your application. Now, in my experience, where you make a spouse application and you claim that for medical reasons somebody's unable to pass the English test, what tends to happen is that the Home Office entry clearance officer may not accept that explanation, and they may put the matter into appeal, or they may reject it and give you the opportunity to appeal. Then it's a question of convincing the judge in the United Kingdom that there are real medical reasons as to why the applicant, the wife who's abroad, cannot pass the English test. Now, all I can suggest here is you explore the exemption based on medical reasons. Apart from that, unfortunately, there isn't really anything else that can be done to assist in your wife being able to come to the United Kingdom to join you and your 2 children in the United Kingdom. Hope that helps. It may not be the answer that you're looking for, but that's the position, unfortunately, that you do find yourself in. Okay, as always, thank you for your question. And as always, to give me a ring live on air to discuss any question that you have, you can call on the landline number. Alternatively, please feel free to contact on the WhatsApp number. Let's take our next call. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Ji, walaikum salam. Ji, thank you for calling.
Hello?
Hello, hi. Brother, you're live on air. Thank you for calling. What's your question?
Thanks very much. Yeah, my question is, I have a sister in Pakistan. She's widow, and I would like her to visit. And I did apply about 3 years ago, and the visa was refused on the basis that she is a widow and she hasn't got any disposable income or any property because she lives with my brother.
Okay.
And I'm a British national. I work full time, and my salary is roughly 50,000 a year.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So I need some advice. How can I ask her to visit me for 3 months?
Okay. Has she travelled anywhere else before outside her home?
She's been to Qatar twice. Her daughter lives in Qatar.
Okay, all right.
She's been to Qatar, but they didn't believe her. And she got the visa from Qatar twice.
What about in Europe anywhere? America, Canada, Australia?
No.
Okay. No. All right. Okay. Sometimes, now this is a difficult situation where visit visas are very difficult to get, especially where somebody is on their own, have no income of their own. Sometimes if they have travelled to other countries, such as Europe, such as America, Australia, Canada, it sort of helps the application. It does make it stronger. Travel to the Middle East doesn't always help. Now, so all you can do is this, that you can't obviously exaggerate her financial circumstances abroad. So you can only do what you've done before, which is to demonstrate that she lives in comfortable circumstances because your brother is able to provide for her. So like you've done before, you provide your brother's documents which proves that he lives in comfortable circumstances, which in turn means that your sister is well looked after. That's all you can do. Now, and obviously you'll provide your supporting documents from here. If it is refused, what I would suggest is, although there's no right of appeal, you consider whether you can challenge it by way of judicial review or not. Now, for that, you will need advice from an immigration solicitor. I don't know whether you looked at that option last time or not, but the problem is this: visitor visas, when they're refused, they don't attract a right of appeal anymore. However, you can consider whether you can challenge the decision by way of judicial review, where the decision is unreasonable. Now, there are stages to that challenge. The first, so the starting point is you must make sure that the application is credible, correct, there's no problems in there. So there's nothing which suggests that you're lying or anybody's lying about their circumstances. Make sure a lot of work is done to portray the correct circumstances abroad. Once that is refused, as long as the refusal does not suggest that your sister's not credible, there's no dishonesty there, I would suggest that you speak to an immigration solicitor and see whether a pre-action protocol letter can be sent to the Home Office challenging what they're saying. Basically saying, look, we've not lied about anything. There's nothing wrong inherently with the situation that you have. It shouldn't result in an automatic refusal simply because somebody's single without income of their own. Look at the other circumstances, the reason for travel. Look at the other circumstances. She lives in comfortable circumstances because she's provided for by a brother. Look at the fact that there's no credibility issues here at all. So you bring those to the attention of the Home Office by way of a pre-action protocol letter. Sometimes they back off and say, look, you know what, we'll get the entry clearance officer to look at this again. If they don't back off, then what you can do is challenge it by going to court. Might be worth doing because the fee's not significant, and it may well be that that's the only way you can challenge the decision to refuse the visit visa. So I would look at this as a real option if the visit visa is refused. So I think last time you probably didn't look at it. If it is refused, look at this option on this occasion. Right, we'll be taking a short break. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. See you back then. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number that appears at the bottom of the screen, and your call will be put through to me here live in the studios, and I'll be able to give you advice live on air. Alternatively, as always, we've had a number of questions coming in on WhatsApp. Please feel free to continue to send those questions in on WhatsApp on that mobile number. Let's look at the next WhatsApp question that's come in. The question is this. Hi, my 5-year visa period will finish in September. My question is, my visa extension period is expiring soon. Can I apply for indefinite leave to remain now, or do I have to wait until the end of the visa? Interesting questions. I will address that as soon as I've dealt with the next call. We'll take the next call. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Ji walaikum salam. Ji bhai. Thank you for calling.
Thank you. My question is, my 2 daughters, they are British. One of them turned into 15 and one is 14. I have submitted by post my old documents. I have received the acknowledgement letter. I just want to know, it's a Zambrano route or what is it, and how long is going to be?
Okay.
That's all my question.
So,
and if I have to travel back to ask them to passport and my VRP card, would they be allowed to send me back, or?
Okay, all right.
Can you answer these 2 questions?
I might just need some information. So if you just do bear with us. The daughters 15 and 14, did you say they're British?
Yeah.
And they're in the United Kingdom at the moment?
They are.
In the United Kingdom. All right, okay. And you know the advice that you need, is it for yourself? Are you looking at your immigration status?
I am on 10 years route, obviously.
Okay, I understand. So you're on the 10-year route to settlement, okay? When did you go on to the 10-year? When did you go on to the 10-year route to settlement?
My first in 2018, and
I understand.
Then I got it in. I think that was in December. Last December, I applied, and I've got 2.5 years.
That makes sense to me. And in terms of the mother of the 2 children, where is she? Is she here? Is she your wife, or what's the situation there?
My missus, she's on the same route like me.
Okay, all right.
And,
all right, okay. So she's here as well. But obviously you've got, right. Now, the position is this, that 19, 20, 21, you've completed about three years under the 10-year route at the moment?
Yes. My missus as well, yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. Now, you are currently on the 10-year route. You could stay on the route and then qualify for indefinite leave to remain in 2028.
Okay.
Now, the problem is this, that if you try the Zambrano route really is where there's nobody here to look after the British children. And so if if you're not granted a visa, then it would mean that the British children would have to leave the UK. And they would have to go with wherever the parent is. So let's say the parent is in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. The British child would have to leave because there's nobody in the UK to look after them. Now, it's in those limited circumstances that the Home Office is prepared to give a visa to one of the parents, because that's the only way the British child could live in the UK. It's to prevent the British child from having to leave the UK. The particular difficulty we have here is that both of you already have a visa to stay in the United Kingdom. And even if you were to apply under the Zambrano route, they could simply rely on your wife and say, well, you know what, your wife has the right to live in the United Kingdom. So it's not the case that the British children would have to leave, because there's somebody already here with the right to live who can look after the children. So the problem is your circumstances don't fit neatly within the Zambrano set of circumstances. And the Home Office will apply the Zambrano concession or rules quite strictly. So I can see your application being refused on the basis, well, you know what, mum has a visa anyway, so the children don't have to leave the United Kingdom. Now, so my personal view is that, look, you're on the 10-year route to settlement anyway, so that's not going to be lost. If you really want to try the Zambrano route, you could do that, but in these circumstances, I can't see how Zambrano would be granted, where both parties, certainly the mum, already has limited leave to remain in the United Kingdom. It's not the case that the British child would have to leave because there's already one of the other parents able to look after the British child. If you want to apply, it's free to apply. There's no fees. You could make the application. I can't see the application succeeding. That's my only issue. And then even under Zambrano, you still have to complete 5 years to get indefinite leave anyway. So you're maybe saving yourself about 2 years, 1.5 years. So you're not saving a significant amount. I don't know whether you've got any follow-up questions on that or not, or whether that answers the question that you posed. But if you're not sure about what I've said, then please feel free to call back or send me a message on the landline number that appears at the bottom of the screen. Now, to be honest, this issue about Zambrano has been coming up quite regularly. The difficulty is that the Zambrano rules are applied very strictly indeed. It's in very limited circumstances that the Home Office is prepared to grant a European visa under Zambrano. And then the other difficulty that we have is this, that we've obviously left European Union, and there's issues about whether these applications can be made after the 30th of June 2021, which was really the cutoff date for these applications. There are some concessions being made by the Home Office for late applications. But even if you get your application in, the fundamental problem is this, that the Home Office is likely to take the view that the children do not have to leave the United Kingdom. Therefore, a visa does not have to be given under the Zambrano scheme. Hope that answers your question. Right, we've got a caller waiting, so let's go to our next call. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you for calling. What's your question?
स्पीक उर्दू
जी उर्दू में बोल सकते हैं जी ठीक है
अच्छा मैं ना भाई साहब देखो यहाँ सन 2006 में आया था अप्रैल के महीने में
जी ठीक है
तो फ्रांस के रास्ते से मैं आया तो इन्होंने मुझे डोबर में पकड़ लिया था
ओके ठीक
फिर इन्होंने जो था मुझे ना ले गए तो फिर मैंने इनको ना पॉलिटिकल साइलम देखो इनसे मांग
जी समझ
फिर इन्होंने जो था मुझे 17-18 दिन रखा अंदर और सारे इंटरव्यू लेके तमाम पूरा टेस्ट कर आए फिर इन्होंने मुझे छोड़ दिया लेकिन मेरा साइलम जो था वो रिफ्यूज कर दिया
रिफ्यूज कर दिया जी
मैं फिर वहां से चला आया चले आने के बाद में फिर मैं इधर 3-4 साल रहता रहा फिर उस टाइम पे पीछे पता आपको काफी सन 2007 में एक लेगेसी की स्कीम निकली थी
जी
उसमें काफी लोग पक्के हुए थे लेकिन मुझे उसका नहीं पता लग पाया उस टाइम हम इतना हमारे पास सोशल मीडिया की या किसी की न्यूज नहीं थी और फिर मैं रहता भी ऐसी जगह था कि वहाँ मुझे कोई इतना पता नहीं लगा काफी टाइम बीत गया तब मुझे पता लगा कि लेगेसी की स्कीम निकली है जिन बंदों ने साइलम डाले उनको पक्का कर रहे हैं ये सारे फिर मैं जब उसको लेके पहुंचा मैंने जाके एक वकील को लेके उसको जब मैं उसकी दरखास्त जब डालने के बाद में जब होम ऑफिस से एक लेटर आया मुझे वो लेटर पता नहीं किस चीज का था क्या था वो मेरे फ्लैट में जब आया तो मेरा फ्लैट मालिक जो था नीचे रहता था हम लोग ऊपर रहते थे उसने उस लेटर को वापस कर दिया कि ये बंदा इधर नहीं रहता तो उन्होंने जो था ना मेरा वो रिफ्यूज कर दिया फिर केस
जी ठीक है
उसमें मुझे कुछ नहीं मिल पाया उसके बाद जो था फिर मैं काफी दिन ऐसे ही चलता रहा फिर मैंने सन 2014 में दोबारा फिर मैं एक बार गया केस लेके अपना इन्होंने वो भी रिफ्यूज कर दिया और वो मुझे फिर नहीं दिया देखो इन्होंने कुछ भी उसके बाद फिर मेरे 3-4 साल 6 साल फिर निकल गए ऐसे अब पिछले साल जो था मैंने करीब 2 साल पहले दोबारा फिर से मैंने जाके एक वकील को लेकर बात करी के होम ऑफिस से, उसने जो था एप्लीकेशन डाली थी कि हम इस बंदे की जो है एप्लीकेशन डालना चाह रहे हैं तो इसकी फीस माफ होना चाहिए, इसकी फीस की माफ जब हो जाएगी तभी एप्लीकेशन डालेंगे। होम ऑफिस वालों ने कहा कि हम केस इसका ले लेंगे, दरखास्त इसकी हम सुनेंगे, लेकिन उसकी फीस इसे जमा करना पड़ेगी।
जी ठीक है। We're taking a short break. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. See you then. Hi, and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. To give me a call live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. And to send me a WhatsApp message, we've got loads of messages coming in, please do so on the landline number. I do apologise. The messages on the WhatsApp number, mobile number, which appears at the bottom of the screen. Okay.
लेकिन मेरे पास इतनी फीस नहीं थी जो मैं फिर जा नहीं पाया उसमें।
जी ठीक है।
अब मुझे यहाँ पर 15.5 साल हो गए हैं, 7 साल से इन्होंने मुझे साइनों पे भी लगाए रखा है। अब साल भर से तो ये इसके वायरस की वजह से मैं नहीं गया हूँ, बंद है उनका वो ऑफिस, वरना 6 साल में लगातार इनके पास जाता रहा। अब ये साल डाल के 7 साल हो गए मुझे उधर जाते हुए, सारे मिला के मुझे 15.5 साल हो गए। लेकिन अब मेरा कुछ हो सकता है कि हम किसी स्टेट लेस में या ह्यूमन राइट का कोई भी किसी तरीके का कोई है ऐसी स्कीम जिससे कि हम
आपका यूके में कोई है, वाइफ चिल्ड्रन ऐसा कुछ है आपका यूके में? जी वाइफ, आपकी वाइफ है, चिल्ड्रन है यूके में? सिंगल?
मैं सिंगल हूँ।
सिंगल है, ऑलराइट, ओके। तो असल में प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि लॉ क्या है, और आपने वकील ने तो आपको बताया होगा कि सिंगल बंदे के लिए एट द मोमेंट जो लॉ है वो ये है कि 20 साल के बाद उसको वीज़ा मिल सकती है, 20 इयर्स के बाद। सो 15, 16, 17, 18 इयर्स, वो काफ़ी साल है, मगर तब भी ये होम ऑफिस वीज़ा नहीं देंगे जब तक आपका 20 साल नहीं होता यूके में। वो बिल्कुल उसका क्लियर लॉ है ना। अगर आगे जाकर कोई एमनेस्टी आ जाए ना, एट द मोमेंट तो कोई एमनेस्टी की बात नहीं है, तो हो सकता है कि आपको वीज़ा मिल जाएगी। पर अगर एमनेस्टी नहीं आएगी, और ये अभी जो लॉ है इसमें तो यही है कि 20 साल के बाद ही वीज़ा मिल सकता है। असल में ये प्रॉब्लम है आपका केस में। सो इसमें
उन्होंने ये ऑप्शन उसमें लिखा भी था कि तू सिंगल है, तू तो वापस भी जा सकता है, तेरी फैमिली साथ में नहीं है।
जी
ये ऑप्शन भी उन्होंने देखो मुझे बोला।
जी सो यही प्रॉब्लम है कि उसका जो लॉ है ना 20 इयर्स का है। जो सिंगल बंदा अंडर 20 इवन 19 इयर्स के बाद भी जो अप्लाई करता है, 19 इयर्स के बाद, उसको भी ये रिफ्यूज करते हैं। ये कहते हैं कि द लॉ इज आपको 20 इयर्स का अनलॉफुल रेजिडेंस बताना पड़ेगा, 20 इयर्स का। असल में इस प्रॉब्लम ये ना कि आपके 15.5 इयर्स ही हुए हैं अभी पेड एप्लीकेशन करने में कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है। अगर आप कुछ करना चाहे तो आप फर्दर सबमिशंस भेज सकते हैं होम ऑफिस को, फर्दर सबमिशंस, मगर फर्दर सबमिशंस में फ़ी पे करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। और फर्दर सबमिशंस में ये है कि वो कंसिडर करेंगे, अगर शायद वो रिफ्यूज़ होगा आपको अपील शायद वो दे देंगे, मगर इन दी एंड आपका कुछ पैसे तो नहीं जाएंगे ना, क्योंकि 15 इयर्स के बाद, 16 इयर्स के बाद वो वीज़ा नहीं देंगे आपको। तो इसमें पैसे खर्च करने में कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है अभी। ये सिचुएशन है, 20 इयर्स का लॉ है, जो बंदा सिंगल है और जिसका रेजिडेंस यूके में अनलॉफुल है। अनफॉर्चुनेटली ये सिचुएशन है।
थैंक यू, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया जनाब, आपका बड़ी अच्छी आपने देखो मुझे सलाह दी है।
जी नो प्रॉब्लम है, इंशाल्लाह आपका कुछ हल हो जाएगा, वरना आप अभी पैसे इसमें वेस्ट ना करो, वेट करो वरना। ठीक है, थैंक यू वेरी मच। No problem, thank you, Allah Hafiz. Thank you very much for your call. Call was regarding somebody who's overstayed in the United Kingdom, wanting to obviously regularize their stay in the United Kingdom. The length of unlawful residence is about 15 years. And my advice was, the law as it stands at the moment clearly states that a single person who is living in the UK unlawfully must have resided in the UK for 20 years before they can qualify for leave to remain. It's quite clear, 20 years. So even if you apply after you've lived in the UK for 17, 18, 19 years, the application will be refused because the immigration rules quite clearly say that the residence requirement is 20 years. Now, obviously, if your circumstances are different, if there are completely exceptional circumstances, or you've got wife and children, different rules may apply. But generally speaking, for a single person who's overstayed in the United Kingdom, generally the position is that they must have lived in the UK for 20 years before they will be granted leave to remain. But thank you very much, brother, for that question. Interesting question, which no doubt the answer no doubt is relevant to you, and it benefits our other viewers who are listening in or watching the show today as well. Now, I still have a number of WhatsApp questions to get through, and I appreciate we're coming towards the end of the show. Let me deal with those questions as our viewers, respected viewers, have obviously spent time to send me their text messages in with their questions. Okay, let's look at the next question that I need to deal with. The issue about the 5-year visa, should you wait to the end of the current visa, or should you apply for indefinite leave after you've spent 5 years in the United Kingdom? So it must be a visa where the indefinite leave is based on 5 years residence. For example, a spouse visa. Somebody who's here on a spouse visa who completes 5 years on a spouse visa is able to apply straight away as soon as they complete their 5 years. They don't have to wait until their current visa card is about to expire. So the answer to your question is, it doesn't matter what the visa expiry date on your card is. If you've completed 5 years in the United Kingdom, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain at that stage. In fact, you can actually apply 28 days before the 5 years are completed. Hope that answers your question. We have another caller. Let's go to our next call. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Ji walaikum assalam. Thank you for calling.
Sorry, brother. Maybe I did ask some question before. Maybe my question wasn't so clear. I just wanted to know Zambrano route, how long the application might take.
Or to process.
And the other question was, and the other question was, if I want to request them to send me back my passport and my BRP card so that I could travel back home. That's my question. And what are the chances for Zambrano?
Okay.
Please explain if you can.
Thank you very much for clarifying that. I'll deal with all those.
Thank you.
Now, typically, those kind of applications at the moment take about 6 months to process. And they will send your passport and BRP back. That's not a problem. And because it's a European application, you could potentially leave the UK whilst it's in process. You've got another application pending as well. It shouldn't affect your existing application. So processing time would be around 6 months. You could ask for your passport and BRP back. That won't result in the withdrawal of the application. My fundamental issue is the likelihood of success. I can't see that application succeeding for the reasons that I outlined before. That the main issue here is the children have at least another parent who's able to look after them. The British children can be looked after in the United Kingdom. By refusing the Zambrano visa to you does not result in the children having to leave the United Kingdom. That's why I can't see Zambrano, the way the Home Office interprets Zambrano, I can't see Zambrano being successful. Now, let's turn to our next question. Again, a European law question. The question is this. Can a European national girl still bring her partner into the UK? What requirements will she need to fulfill? Now, a European national person, male, female, doesn't really matter, can potentially still sponsor the parents, the partners to come to the UK. As long as European national is in the UK with pre-settled status or settled status, they can sponsor somebody to come to the UK. However, the only difference is the financial requirement will need to be met, the English requirement will need to be met, the fees will have to be paid. It's as if a normal application is being made. I'll look at that in greater detail after I've taken the next call. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for calling.
Hi. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Yes,
salam.
this is Mumtaz. I've got a simple query.
Sure.
We have applied for Form Set O, but unfortunately we selected a wrong category.
Okay.
So we received an email back from Home Office advising that please review and seek a legal advice. So my question is, we can simply respond back the email, or do we have to refill a separate form or apply right from the beginning.
Okay, so what you now do is, if the wrong application has been made, you submit the correct form now. You submit it straight away, and you reply to the email saying, we have varied the application. So
no, we have exactly the right form set. It's just the wrong category. You know, under the form, you have a different categories. So I selected the wrong category.
Ah, right. Are you on a work permit or something, or tier 1 visa?
No. This is an ILR based on the dependent visa for my daughter, right? For a person settled in UK.
Okay, so it's a dependent visa based on your daughter.
Yes.
All right. Okay. And your daughter is British, I take it, yeah?
No, she's not British. She's applying for ILR.
Oh, sorry. It's your daughter who's applying for ILR.
Yes.
Okay. Daughter's applying for ILR. Which category did you select? And what error did you make?
The category we selected for just on a work permit dependent.
Ah, right. Okay.
We selected others.
I understand.
You know, the last category, which is not covered by any other category in the form.
Okay. Well, why don't you email back? Then simply say, look, the category that we're applying under is this. It was incorrect. Now, if you feel that we should complete a separate form, then please tell us what the form is and allow us 28 days to resubmit the correct form and vary the application. If it's a category issue, what you're saying is right. Let's just go back and say, look, this is the correct category. However, if you feel that even that category is not applicable, there is a different form, please advise as to what the form is, and I will submit the correct form, and I will ask for my application to be varied. I would definitely then go back and respond along those lines.
Right, lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
So just the email response back should be enough.
Yeah. So you know, when they've replied to you, they will tell you how they want the response, and just make sure they will tell you who to reply to. Is it simply a reply to that, or do you have to reply to another email address? Just make sure that the email response goes to the right person. But thank you very much for.
Thank you very much, Ilyas.
No problem. Thank you, Jazakallah. Thank you very much for that question. Now, interesting question where obviously there's a slight error in terms of what's happened. Again, here, there looks like there's a simple solution. So hopefully the answer here is simply engage with the immigration officer, tell the immigration officer, look, this is the situation. And it looks like you have a sympathetic immigration officer who's not going to refuse the application, who's going to put things on hold and allow you time to put things right. So that's fantastic. Stay engaged with the Home Office and hopefully it will get resolved. If you're not sure, please feel free to get back to me when we're back on next week. That brings us to the end of the show. Inshallah, we'll be back next week at the same time. Until then, Assalamu alaikum.